Welcome to The View from the East, a new unofficial Leyton Orient podcast. This is episode 5, Next Goal Wins. My name's Rob Bennett, and this week I'm joined by the wiser older one, Eddie B. Eddie, how are we doing?
Yeah. Great, Rob. I hope you had a great break over the Easter period. Actually, Rob, I've just got a bit of I've got congratulations to shout out before we begin the show. Our cousin Sean announced her engagement to her long-time boyfriend Oric on Saturday. Although he's an Arsenal season ticket fan, we'll let that go. He is an avid listener to the podcast, and he's also going to be our French football expert on our podcast that we hope to have up and running during the World Cup. So we're looking forward to that.
So a nice bit of news and a little bit of an exclusive as well regarding the podcast. So that's very nice to hear. On the menu this week, we're going to be talking briefly about Wigan away, the new stadium survey that has been received by fans, Huddersfield at home, the Q3 update, which came out over the weekend, and we'll wrap up with a preview of both Lincoln and Mansfield. So we've got quite a bit to get through. Some of it we won't spend too long on because there's not too much to talk about. Let's start with Wigan away, which was the Thursday night game on Sky. 0-0. Not much to talk about there, is there?
No, it's a shame, Rob. It's the beginning of the Easter holidays. Thursday, I finished work and or live on TV tonight. I look forward to that. I saw the team that came out, very much similar to the team that played Exeter. I don't know about you, Rob, but let's be honest, Wigan dominated the first half, just without breaking the deadlock. I think we looked a little bit more dominating in the second half, a couple of chances. Their goalkeeper, Sam Tickle, always makes me laugh, made several good saves, and especially tonight, Mitchell and Ballard, but it just had a 0-0 written all over it from about 5 or 10 minutes. Similar to the Exeter game, I thought, from the previous Saturday. What did you think?
Yeah, it wasn't a great spectacle, was it? I do wonder sometimes with Sky, if you looked at all the games we've ever been on Sky, I'd imagine 80% of them are pretty much stinkers. We never perform that well, do we, on TV to a great extent? Obviously, the big news before the game was no Richie Wellens, so he was out injured, so to speak. Also, he was on the sideline. Just before the game started, I saw him on his mobile phone. I thought, what's he up to? It's a bit late to be texting and stuff like that. Then I noticed the old Bluetooth in his ears, and doesn't matter where Richie is, he must have been in his ear for the whole 90 minutes, mustn't he? Yeah, Paul Terry, poor sod, he couldn't get too far away from Richie. But it wasn't a great spectacle. He said, I thought a bit like Exeter and Wimbledon, actually. Wigan come on strong, didn't they, for the first 10, 20 minutes, half hour. We come back into it. I think we had one chance at the end of the first half. As you said, changes made at half time. They went to that sort of three centre-backs again, pushing left back and right back forward. And sort of that change, we sort of tried to dominate. Mitchell did well with a couple of chances. Ballard made the keeper work. As you said, Mr. Tickle extending his arms, getting the ball away from his net. But yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, Will Dennis almost made a boob right near the end, and then their striker somehow managed to put it over the top. But that's as much as we can talk about, I think.
I think it was similar to sort of like the Exeter game when you see, obviously there was like 2 half-time substitutions, Onwazuni coming on and 007 for Parkinson and Wellens. He did make a bit of a difference. Obviously, we know what Elmiz can do, just a little bit more control in the middle. But yeah, the longer the game went on, I don't know, he just thought both teams were probably going to be happy with the 0-0. I've got to say something about that pitch, though, Robert. I don't know if you looked at it closely. They must have had a rugby game on it perhaps the day before. Yeah. It looked like it was terrible. Yeah, you could play decent football on that. And we are a passing team if everyone's playing their game. Yeah, I think to walk away with that with a 0-0, they needed the win probably more than we actually did. And at the end of the day, it probably suited both teams 0-0, knowing they both had to play again 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah, I suppose looking at that pitch, like you mentioned, I hate seeing other lines from another sport on the pitch while a football game's going on. I suppose when you think ahead to 5-6 years in a new multi-sports arena, which is on the cards, then I suppose we're going to be a bit like Spurs, aren't we? They take out the football pitch, roll in whatever other sport we're playing there. I'm hoping we'll have technology in London to be able to do that. So, one thing I did pick up on, obviously Wigan sort of fighting for their lives as well. when you look at obviously 2-0 Exeter and Wigan, but out of those games we've taken 4 points from against each opponent, so sort of we've not lost out to them at all. So out of 6 points on offer in each of those sort of set of fixtures, we've taken the majority of the points. So, when we're looking, we'll talk later about the table and the relegation battle, which could still be ongoing, but we've done our bit against those two teams. We've not let them take the majority of the points. Sort of it's other results that mess us up potentially.
Yeah, well, before we finish with that game, you actually made a good point. That capacity there, I think, is around high 20s, maybe early 30s. But it looked as if there was 1,000 people there. And I'm not saying anything, but we're looking to move into a stadium like that. And even when it's half full, when you saw all the advertising boards filling up all the seats just to make it look better on TV.
Yeah. It's something Richie picked up on in his pre-Huddersfield game, that the stadium didn't seem alive, because it literally you could probably pick a row of seats to yourself, couldn't you, in a stadium that big? And I'm sure it's something that Mark Devlin and Nigel Travis, when they've looked at it, that's potentially your future in a new stadium, isn't it? Initially, if you haven't done your bit in terms of ticket deals for local families, whatever it may be, a bit like West Ham had to do to fill out the Olympic Stadium. I'm sure they've got their thinking caps on already, and that's already in the pipeline. But that's potentially your future if you've built a new stadium, but your team's not performing well.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a good point you made to me the other day.
Right, let's move on to a second item. Around about the Wigan game, I didn't see it in my email straight away, and I'm not sure if everyone has received an email on it. There is a new stadium / community complex survey that come out. I think is it only come out to members and season ticket holders?
I think it may have done. I think it was probably pre the Wigan game on Thursday. I saw an email drop into my account alluding to a survey on what they wanted the new ground to be, or our views on it, etc. It said it was going to take 15 minutes to fill out. It probably took me a little bit longer. I don't know about you, Rob, but it was basically asking, am I a season ticket holder? Yes. Then it started going along my household income, my age, whereabouts in the ground do I sit, and how long have I supported Orient, why have I supported Orient, my inside leg measurement. It got all that information. Then, unbeknown to me, Rob, I got transported into a land I thought I'd never see. It was it took me into a world of executive boxes, tunnel views, if I wanted those of players pre-kickoff, all-inclusive 10-seater boxes right on the halfway line. I reckon when I finish that survey, I'm in for about 10 grand a year, Rob. And now I haven't told Mrs. B that yet.
I think very much based on my income, I didn't get questioned about boxes. I know that. Probably one of the questions, would I like to see a box from where I'm sitting, or wave to my brother from an executive box? Yeah, you know what it reminded me of? Because I suppose, I don't know, say 1,000 people have filled that out, gone down a different pathway or rabbit hole on that, haven't they? It reminds me of those old fantasy books you had to, like Dungeons and Dragons, you roll the dice, you go that way, you make your choice. Yeah, I'm sure the information that they do gain from it is sort of invaluable to them. Yeah, it was a bit lengthy, wasn't it? And by the time you get to the end, what other sports do you want to see? Do you want to see monster trucks? Not really. Did you even get asked that question? Or is that just based on what my income is?
I think I might have been Eurovision, me, because I was like, sort of executive boxes. I was just ticking whatever.
Yeah, I mean, for you, they're probably asking if you want to see the Rolling Stones, whereas I'm getting monster trucks.
It's good to see. I suppose they've got to look at all these different views from various different people. They've got to fill the ground, haven't they? If they're going to have a 25 grand, 30,000 grand, which they're potentially talking about, they've got to look at the extra revenue they'll be able to get into the ground, and they've got to look at how they're going to fill it up. But I think in regards to sort of like your normal fan, and I would call you and me, Rob, a normal fan, you're probably looking at a season ticket, behind the goal in the corners of around £700 to £1,000. But what we've got to remember, they're looking at prices in 5 years' time. So this would be like 2031. Basically, if you want to bet at the ground, you want to bet a team, you're going to have to pay for it, unfortunately.
How much was they asking for a box?
I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, and I think they were potentially looking at between 7 grand to 10 grand, depending on what type of box I wanted. I
How
wanted
many
to see.
would £7 box take? 6 to 10?
Yeah, to 10. It's like an all-inclusive holiday for a season.
Yeah, but that's not bad. If you kind of you're together, you could do that, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, if you had 10 of you and you had the income, yeah, I suppose you could turn up the ground 3 hours before, stay after the ground for 3 hours. And I imagine you get to use it if you had meetings or there was other um, if there was concerts or other sports events going on. I imagine you have first dibs on that box, or you get to use that box throughout the whole season. A bit like a debenture.
Yeah, I'm sure we won't get pelters in 6 years' time if we have the View from the East executive box. Everyone will still know
No,
we're grounded. We're still grounded.
yeah, of course we are. And as well as that, I just wanted to mention also, I know we did briefly talk about the fans forum last week, but just to let you know that they are doing a live broadcast on the 13th of April at 7 p.m. on the club's YouTube channel. I think they're still taking questions, so that's always a good view. Get an idea of what's going on over the club over the last couple of months or so. And it's also worth noting that they'll be hosting an in-house Q&A in the Supporters Club on the Saturday the 18th before the game. That sort of did remind me, Rob, perhaps we should join the Supporters Club just to get our foot into the door.
Well, we did. Let's get it straight. We did used to be Supporters Club members, didn't we? Back in the day when it was on Brisbane Road in a little shoebox that it used to be. I personally don't go in the Supporters Club now, so I have to get away from the game straight away, don't I? So I haven't got time for a pint afterwards.
Right.
I like to spread the joy in the pubs locally, so it's not always applicable to me. But yeah, I suppose we should join it, shouldn't we? Just for old time's sake. And that does remind me, I still have to send my questions over because it would be rude if I wasn't on another sort of YouTube live after being on the last one.
Can I tell you?
Let's move on to Huddersfield now. Go on then. Before we move on, what questions you?
Yeah. So quickly, I sent a question about the training ground. I said to the guys, you've spoken to Ricky Rob about the training ground, haven't you? And the facilities. And I sort of said the training ground this season is probably more important than a big summer signing. And because if it is true that we did sort of like, potentially a month during sort of like January that we wasn't training on the training ground with all these new players coming on. If we want to be championship ready, we need a championship training ground. So I'm hoping that news comes out of that sooner rather than later, because I think that's going to be fantastic news if that is true.
How long though would it take to develop a brand new one from scratch?
5 years.
Okay. I mean, what's important, I think, I don't understand it. The academy structure, for instance, they need certain things there, don't they? Like an indoor training facility, etc., for it to be. Is it grade A or grade 1 academy status, which I know they're aiming to move up. So it's stuff like that costs money.
Let's see. Let's fingers crossed. We hear some good news over the summer.
Right, let's move on then, Ed. Monday's game against Huddersfield. Now, I was there, you wasn't, so you'll have to ask me questions about the game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't get there on Monday. I was on a scouting mission in the lower leagues. That's as far as I'm going to go. Can't say any more. But Rob, how was the game?
So hang on, before we move on, you're not going to tell us anything about who you were scouting then?
All I'm going to say is the lower leagues. I can't say any more than that.
Potentially a rough diamond. Right, that's great to hear. Yeah, where do you want to start in the Huddersfield game, Ed? I would call it a Jekyll and Hyde performance. Where do you want to start?
Well, I imagine I was sort of clicking in, sort of like listening into the game. I thought, this is going to be the game. We get those 3 points, and it's going to be our safety net. Huddersfield, similar to the position to we were before pre-game. I think actually, if we won, we would have probably gone within about 5 points of them. I saw us go 1-0 up halfway through the first half. Easy street now. We know how to keep a clean sheet, and I thought it's 3 points in the bag. But obviously, that wasn't the case, Rob. What happened?
Well, I mean, before even the kickoff, the thing buzzing around the ground was where the hell's Dennis? Because he wasn't even on the bench. I think they've alluded to he's picked up an injury. So all of a sudden, Oluwemi's back. So with Cahill on the bench, so I didn't know what to think there. You think, bloody hell, not again. Just where we've got a good run of clean sheets and good performance, strong goalkeeper, and it's sort of 1 step forward, 3 steps back. El Miss started. We said that, didn't we, last week, that he must be due to start a game, maybe get 60 minutes rather than sort of 45, which was good to see. And then Simpson's injured again. He can't get a run of 10 games, can he? Let alone sort of getting 5 out of him consistently.
Interesting, Rob. When I sort of like look at the team and look at the team closely this season as well, James O'Neill, there's three or four of them that can't last more than 3 or 4 games before there's another injury. And it's like,
Yeah.
do we carry on doing this? Is it the training?
Yeah.
What
I
do you
mean,
reckon the problem
even
is?
I forgot about actually when I was looking at the squad on Saturday. Mitchell wasn't in it. Apparently, he went down ill Saturday morning, and he'd been. I'm not saying he's been the best player. He's been good, but he's been that consistent in starting 11, isn't he? So one less position you have to worry about if he stays fit. But all of a sudden he's out again, and the bench was weaker than what we're seeing. So James is on the bench. Then you got
You've got
Perkins.
Craig.
Matthews has come back. Cahill, as I said, there's a young boy from the youth team, or I think he'd either played on the morning or certainly had played on Sunday. Yeah. Oh, and who else was on the bench? Michael Craig was on the bench, which doesn't fill you with confidence. And when I looked at it, I was just looking at it actually before we come on. And Tom James must be sat there, and it's like he's babysitting that lot because their average age must be about 20. So you can tell all of a sudden from being really strong, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, you get one of
We've gone from
picking up those injuries, you're in trouble with.
from quite a consistent team we've had over that 4-win period.
Yeah.
These players are coming back, doing what they should do, playing well, but then they're out again for another 3 or 4 games. And this is what's happened all season. Those players go out, and we just haven't got that strength and depth to fill in the positions. We end up in a position. Well, you can discuss what happened for the rest of the game, Rob.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bit weird. They started well, Huddersfield, which you'd expect. They do need the 3 points before the game, so they're still getting the playoffs, can't they? And as I said, they played well for the first 10 minutes. Huddersfield, strong team. You know what these northern teams are like? They're big, strong, and they're athletic. They all seem big to us. And then, but all of a sudden, sort of, we started playing really fluid. And for probably for the next 35 minutes of that half, some of the best football I've seen all year. It's sort of moving the ball quick. Forrester was bringing it out. El Miz was running through their midfield and sort of getting forward. Even back in 6, it looked weird. We looked like we had like a 5-2-2-1 system because Pattinson was like really far forward in that midfield. He's normally held back, isn't he, in front of the defence? And he's doing all sorts of tricks. He's sort of spinning over the ball a couple of times. At one point, I thought he was going to like bring out the old Rabona and start sort of tricks like that. But he was like really good in that first half. And Ballard had a couple of, I don't know what it is about it. He couldn't get the ball from out of his feet. He was in good positions a few times. And it's like the ball was like treacle around his feet. And I thought, are you being greedy or you just generally, it's one of those days where what would be fluid a couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden you're maybe trying a little bit too hard. He just couldn't move the ball from out of his feet or pass it on. And I thought, I hope you're not being greedy. But really good performance. And obviously the goal helped. Great cross by Archibald. So he played really well throughout the game. And a lot of energy. Now, when we was looking at it, we couldn't see who scored. Didn't realise there was no goal. So I thought it was Forrester. But obviously then we realised on the replay downstairs it was an own goal. But even if that defender had missed it, Ballard was behind. 9 times out of 10, if he's connected with his head, he's good with his head, isn't he? He would have scored. Yeah, with the run and play for that first half, I thought we deserved to be ahead. And then as the half's running down, I'm starting thinking, wow, 3 points. I'm drifting off. 3 points. We're going to be in top half. We're safe. And then I think the defence must have drifted off as well because all of a sudden they've moved the ball out to the left. Lovely cross has come in. We're just so flat-footed. Keeper's on his heels, and they've just tucked it away with a header. When I've looked back at it, and he's tucked that away from about 6-yard box as well. When I look back at it, he looks offside to me. But obviously, that's not been given. The defenders just seem to have gone to La La Land and gone to sleep. It's sort of really poor.
Which is what we saw pre the good run, wasn't it? Defence seemed to be falling asleep, even if for a millisecond. But if you get a millisecond or you're probably going to score against us, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's just hold back forward.
If we'd gone in at 1-0, I don't think Huddersfield fans would have moaned about that. We deserve to be ahead. But you can't, if you give a team who's pushing, especially if they're pushing for a playoff spot, a sniff of sort of getting back into a game, they go into half time, they're really pumped up, all of a sudden we're Probably Richie's got the old teacups flying around. I probably would have. And it's just like really, really deflating because I think we deserved to go ahead into half time, and then like the second half, it was just as I said, Jekyll and Hyde. We was terrible. We had our chances, but we was terrible.
So what do you think? Do you think we missed Les Dennis in the goal? Like, do you think it was sort of like dominance because he's been there for like half a dozen games, or we've got good results?
I think that doesn't help because again, that consistency, isn't it, of just having a keeper who's strong, sort of reliable, sort of know what you're going to get, good shot stopper as well. And Oluwemi, he made some brave saves and sort of challenges to get the ball in the second half. Don't get me wrong, but there's that element. His kicking was poor. His the command of that back five, I guess it wasn't as strong as what you alluded to there with Dennis over the past few games. I think like when Huddersfield did come on strong, but like when they can smell blood, sort of it's the blood in the water, and they probably felt. And they've got to push for the 3 points to get into the playoffs, don't get me wrong, but they probably felt they could get something. And also, you might not have seen it on the highlights, there was a point where two of the Huddersfield players clashed heads. So they was down for about 10 minutes. One of them went off with a concussion, one was allowed to stay on. And that was about, I want to say, for roughly about the 70-minute mark. And then when I'm looking around, just after like 10-minute stoppage, so the players are sort of cooled down and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, when they started playing again, you could see that El Miz is all of a sudden blowing out of his arse. He's gone. So he should have been off the pitch by then. Basically, you don't want to play him for 90 because of the recovery after his hamstring. But there's not enough strength and depth on that bench to be able to say, right, Michael Craig, I trust you to go on right now and shore up that midfield. He's not been playing midfield all year anyway. And it was... They probably kept El Miz on for a bit too long. And then as the game went on as well, you can see with Backinson starting to get tired. The only one, the one most energy on the pitch was Archibald. He's like a phenomenon since he's come back in terms of his fitness. But as it drew on, and obviously then we had, 14 minutes of extra time? Yeah, he's for extra time in us, especially, remember with Luton, when it was about 10 minutes extra time?
Yeah, I was going to say, the Charlton game last year. Well, there's been a few games this year, isn't there? Like, last 10 minutes, Everton's going to score.
That Luton game, if I was the Luton manager, I heard 10 minutes if I was one of those players. If that's just like a free hit, right, we're 1-0 down, we can just throw everything at it just to get the point, which they did in that game. But, I mean, also what happened, there was a couple of, we could have probably gone 2-1 up. Your favourite, Sonny Perkins, outstanding contribution. There's just a couple of chances where he's driven through the middle, so he's got Ballard to his left. All you've got to do is roll that ball in front of Ballard's sort of path, and he'll one touch, he'll be at least working the goalkeeper. What does he do? He passes it behind him. So you've lost all that momentum of the electric movement of just putting your foot through the ball. And then there's another one later on where Archibald's again, a bit like the Backinson goal about a month ago, he's really driven the ball down the right. Perkins can't keep up with him. Archibald's got the ball at his feet. Perkins can't keep up with him. So for Archibald just to be able to lay it off, and either you have a shot or then you lay it off to the next man to your left.
He came off Wellens, didn't he? Yesterday.
Yeah, it may have been. Yeah, I think Casey come off at the same time as well. So there's a couple of changes at the same time. But it's just, I don't know what he's been on the bench for about the last 5 or 6 games. But it just probably shows where we've got a big squad, but we're just lacking that real depth.
I think I've noticed that in a few games we've played this year. Is that when you look at the bench, people are bringing players on who are ex-championship players. They may be 34, 35, slightly over the hill, but it's like bringing your bomb squad on with 20 minutes to go.
We recorded last week before that. We said, and it might have been actually the last home game as well, when you got Ballard up front, then sometimes I think you might just need a lump on the bench sometimes just to give a different option or give the defence something else to think about for the opposition. So maybe that's something. I know Richie doesn't like playing that way, but you might have to have something to make the opposition think differently.
Okay.
We've got to mention, obviously, 14 minutes extra time. when that come in, they were putting pressure on going into that like last minute or so, seconds dying down. Backinson's missed a challenge he should have got to, but I think he was just dead on his feet, to be fair.
Yeah.
That initial cross where the players hit the crossbar, I thought that had gone in at the time, but obviously I've watched it back and they've made a good decision on at least that one, and it literally hit the line and gone out. But then Tom James has gone down. Our keeper's almost wiped him out, and one of their players has gone down as well. And this is where it all started kicking off. So like the referee, Tom James saying, I don't need a physio, it's just like a bit of chest injury. I've got up. You've got a head injury, mate. So you've got to go off the pitch. And so and it's just like so confusing. The ref not lost control, but no one understood what he was doing because there was no need for Tom James to go off. So he sent him off to the sideline. He's basically given the Huddersfield a basically free drop ball, almost right in front of us, where we sit. So straight away, bang, he's crossed it in. Confusion in the box, a bit of pinball, and then I think it's come off Perkins, which I presume is Perkins' first goal of the season, even though it's an own goal. And that was literally the last kick of the game. So yeah, it's just terrible. But, I suppose fair play to them. You've got to take a chance, and it's not the opposition's fault if the referee decides to make a decision like that. But I can understand why Richie was furious after the game. And people moan that he's got another red card. But if you're in as much pain as what he is and having injections and stuff like that, you know how irritable it can be. If you're carrying pain and it's irritable, you're going to let that out on someone, and he let it out on the ref.
Well, I suppose Huddersfield are sort of similar position to we were last year. So that's taken them up to ninth now. They're on 61 points there. They're only 3 points off the playoffs. Yeah, do you remember this time last year when we were scrapping wins and getting wins that were going 1-0 down and coming back, or Barnsley, Cambridge, etc., etc., and you're just fighting for everyone on the pitch is fighting for that win, and obviously they're in that position this season where we're just scrapping for another 2 or 3 points, but they obviously wanted it more than us by the sounds of it.
Is it? Do you think it's wrong with me if I dig a player out?
That's what we're here for.
Michael Craig. I don't know what his best position is, or when he come on, he didn't contribute anything. I don't know whether he is carrying that hamstring injury he picked up against, was it Wigan? No, Exeter wasn't. Exeter. But he didn't look fit, didn't look interested. I'll probably get daggers for this, but like when you think about who might not be with us come August, September, I've got a feeling he might be out.
Well, he did come with a lot of promise, didn't he? Because obviously Reading had only just, we snatched their place in the playoffs positions. He was looked upon as possibly being the Galbraith replacement, sort of a bit of a right back. He can play in midfield, etc., etc., etc. Reading fans seem to be quite disappointed that he'd left. But yeah, one of those players you thought would have been League One ready, but just hasn't. There's been a couple of them this year, but he has been one that hasn't really lived up to his promise.
I suppose as much as you're trying to develop players, not everyone can work, can they? Whether it be the system or just not gelling with the team. So not everyone can work. Otherwise, everyone would be sort of challenging for promotion all the time.
Well, no, I think that's what we're here for. We can't just have everyone on the back and say everyone's doing well. We do have to call out people if we don't think they're playing well because we're paying their wages.
Yeah, so obviously I hope that he scores a winner next game. Good luck for the rest of the season.
He'll be man of the match on there.
Yeah. Let's move on before I get an email from the club saying cease your podcast. Let's move on. The next time they come up was what they class as the Q3 update, which is the regular update we're getting from the club now on all matters, whether it be financial, team structure, fan forums and stuff like that. Was there anything we can pick out of the latest update?
There wasn't too much of it. I mean, it is good news that they are very open now to the fans compared to previous people who used to own the club. So there wasn't too much of an update. I think it was just sort of it was explained they had a big turnover of players during the January window, and they did explain how difficult it was to get some of the stalwarts that have been there for a long while. Lillian Beckles especially, and even McCormack, and announcing that. Or reiterating that they did lose £4.5 million, I think it was last year. for the 24-25 financial results, and that was even including the sale of uh, two significant players. And this year, they're giving us a heads up. It looks as if it's going to exceed 5 million. So, I'm not a rocket scientist. When the wage growth outstrips the league revenue growth, then the owner needs to fund the difference, or you're going to have to sell someone to make up the difference. Something's got to happen, isn't it?
That was going to be one of my
Sorry.
questions. Actually, I've got to send my questions over to the fan forum thing that's going on next week. I read there's a great article on the BBC website about the Championship and how much they're losing there, and basically the EFL is almost going collapsing on itself because the clubs are in so much debt. So you're probably looking at an average sort of loss of about £30 million, so sort of a year. So it's sort of, it can't, as you alluded to there, with wages outstripping sort of money's coming into the clubs. It can't continue like that, can it? So it'd be interesting to see what Nigel Travis, because he's connected, isn't he, with a lot of the chairmen and stuff like that from various leagues. And where else in the world would you be allowed to run businesses where basically it's just financial losses all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think they also keep on iterating that sort of like the club's playing budgets increased by 50% now over the last 5 years now, possibly 6 years. So look, how do you fill the gap? We can't get any more people into the ground. There's probably no more advertising space in the ground until we move. Hence why they want to move to a bigger ground. It makes sense. So in between those years until we move to the new ground, if someone does come in for a good offer on one of your players on a long-term contract, of course you're going to sell them. You should be naive to think you're not going to sell them. And we know the obvious players that they probably would be looking to cash in on. You'd be silly if you didn't know those players. Instead of asking for 1 minute, Rishi is right in what he's saying. Mansfield going from Fulham to Birmingham. Perhaps you should be asking, start off at 15 million. So ridiculous.
Well, that is the rumour, isn't it, of what they're asking for? It would be interesting, actually. I'll pick a number out the air. I would imagine, say, League One, average wage, let's say, I don't know, £5,000, just as an estimate. It would be interesting by the time we get into our new stadium, hopefully in about 5 or 6 years, what the average wage in League One is at that stage, if they don't start looking at the structure of it. Because then, by then, you're probably looking at close to 10 to 15 grand average a week, which is bad.
Hence why they want to get into the Championship, because I think we were close to it last year. It's like another £10 million TV money, and that means that and we can see that because Charlton have gone out and bought Kelman and another, a few other players for sort of like £2 or £3 million, and they've even got Connor. I'm just chucking Connor Cody out there as an example, but he's playing for Charlton. I know this year. Last year, there's no way they could have even afforded half his wages, but now they can because it's so important to play into the Championship. How are you going to get out of League One? A bigger ground, a better squad. You need more money coming into the club as a whole. So you may have to sell these players, but that means you may have a little bit more money to get better players in, or with higher sell-on fees for next season. We will be a Brentford or a Brighton. And that's the model we're probably going to follow.
Okay. Ed, I'm conscious of time, so we don't want to be going on for 2 hours today. Let's have a look at, we've got a huge game on Saturday, the early kick-off, Lincoln, and then we'll briefly talk about Mansfield as well. So Lincoln City confirmed their promotion, so I'll give a well done to them. I've never had a problem with Lincoln City. I think they're very much like us in terms of structure and recent history, so plaudits to them. I don't really want them to be made champions against us on Saturday, though.
No, I'm hoping that similar to us, we played Gillingham, or when we played against Crewe, and then we played Stockport a week later. That they've been on the run since yesterday evening. Wouldn't it be typical Leighton Orient to play? We've already got 3 points off them at home. To go there, get 6 points off the champions of the league. But there's probably no one's done that. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we go there and get 3 points. I know everyone was assuming we're going to get 10, 3 or 4-0. They've done the hard job now, haven't they?
I mean, we had the last 2 games against them, won, but they had both been at home. Prior to that, they'd won all 3 games out of the 5 that we have played against them. As you alluded to, they're one of only 2 teams now that we can get 6 points off of. The other being Burton, which is the last game of the season. I hope even by then, we're not still needing the win at that stage. What's interesting, well, look, I did watch them against Cardiff about a month ago. That was the big clash at the time. They had similar points. And they come out 2-0 winners away. When you look at their possession against Cardiff, you want to have a guess on how much possession they had?
What was the score?
2-0.
Oh, 50%.
No, 22% possession. And when you look over their fixtures since then, so they've had 6 games, they average close to 35% possession. So basically, they're, especially a team like Orient, they're allowing us to play against them. Then it's just going to hit us on the break or get us on set pieces, I imagine.
Well, if we could look, you said Dennis may be back for Saturday, which is obviously a huge difference if he can get back. Just to transfer that back lineup. If you're a betting man, you're going to think Lincoln are going to beat. It's just live on TV as well as it's one of the early kickoffs on Saturday, and obviously Sky are there. I don't know if they can win the title on Saturday. I was just looking at, I think they're ahead of Cardiff, but they've played a game that has. They might need another win after us to get to it. But let's hope it's not us they beat on. I think the more important game, Rob, Lincoln, we could probably let go. The more important game is the following Tuesday against Mansfield.
Yeah. I mean, one last thing about the Lincoln game. They love a shot. So they're averaging about 15 shots a game, 5 or 6 on target each game. So, yeah, we could probably do with Will Dennis. I tell you who was training, he was helping the goalkeepers train on Monday, was Backman. He was out on the pitch, and he looks like a keeper. So you never know. Maybe Backman's probably our highest earner. So maybe they will play him if he's fit.
Well, I think perhaps the first decision when the season's over that all the fans are waiting for is just a goalkeeper signed up on the 2 or 3 year deal. Done. That's your goalkeeper for the next 2 or 3 years, and then we can look for other. But you know all the big clubs. It's at the back. You got the goalkeeper, then the centre back. I think we've got the centre back. We've got the midfield, and possibly got the striker. But it's that gaping hole at the back. We just need to sort that out for next season, but the earlier we do it, the better, I think.
Okay. Ed, you alluded to it there. Mansfield, probably the more winnable game if we go win either of these two. We did have a really good record against them, so we won 4 on the bounce, and then they absolutely tonked us at their place in August. They beat us 4-1, which I think was one of our that was a dreadful performance, if I remember rightly. Surely reasons to be cheerful though. They're 12th. They've firmly got their flip-flops on. They can't go down. They can't go to the playoffs. They're too far behind.
Yeah, exactly. They're on the points we want to be on, 53. No, actually, one game advantage over us. But yeah, they're 12th. They're not going down. They're not going up. Nigel Clough's had another good season there, especially sort of like on the budget they're probably on. But that's got to be the win that we aim for. Lincoln, as I said, I think we can probably let go, but Mansfield on Tuesday, we just need to get those 3 points just to get us over the line. And at least we've got then 3 games to go before the end of the season, where perhaps we could put in a couple of the youngsters, like you were saying, Rob Lowe, that was on the bench, just to test them out, give them a few games before the end of the season.
Ed, he won't do that unless we're safe. We're not safe at the moment, are we? So even if we pick up a point Saturday, then we're still probably need them one more win to be sure, I think. But Exeter won, didn't they, on Monday? So that's closed that gap up. We've just got to hope that they all trip over each other lower down. I tell you a team who is in trouble, they're a bit on free fall, is Wimbledon. I think they're on the same points as us, but they haven't won in about 6 or 7 games. So they potentially could be the team. You know, like a team just drops and goes through the trapdoor. It could be Wimbledon, I think, but Exeter still.
Yeah, because there's only looking at the league at the moment. There's only 4 points from Exeter on the 21st.
Yeah,
there's only 4 points from the 21st position to the 15th position.
It should be a bumper. I love a Tuesday game, but it should be quite a good crowd. They're doing a deal here, aren't they? So it's £10 adults, £1 for a kid.
Yeah, no, it should be a full house, isn't it? Who wouldn't want to come out on a Tuesday evening to watch Leighton Orient versus Mansfield?
Yeah, and I sound like a promotional person for Orient, but it's according to their website today, 20% off food if you buy within the ground, and also this is something that caught my attention: 50% off beer. So yeah, what would you predict, Ed, over the 2 games? Were you happy with 2 points, 4 points, 6?
Statistically, I say 3 points out of the 2 games, and I think that would mean safety for us. Mystically, 4 points. I'm going to say I just can't see us getting anything at Lincoln. In the form they're on, everyone's on a buzz, aren't they? They probably just want to wrap up the tackle as soon as possible. They're at home. It's on TV. They've got all the TV there. There's Sky are on with them. It's in all the news.
I think,
I
like you said,
can't.
knowing us, it'll be beat Lincoln, lose to Mansfield.
Well, this would be typical Leighton Orient, wouldn't it? Yeah, we have a cracking result against Lincoln and get tanked by Mansfield at home.
Well, let's wrap up. Ed, anything to add before we finish?
No. I've got saying let's hope we can get 3 points over the next 2 games. Bit of safety, bit of for the next season, and just start building up for next season early doors. And that's in an ideal world, we start snapping some of these players up early doors as soon as the season finishes, and we can crack on for next season. Put this season behind us and get ready for next year.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Good luck, everyone. If you're travelling on Saturday, then safe journey and up the O's.
Come on, you O's.